Welcome to Crappens. Don't wait a week for a new video. Join our Patreon at the Crappens On Demand level for instant recap access. Link in description. Enjoy the show.
Hello and welcome to Watch What Crappens, a podcast about all that crap on Bravo we love to talk about. I'm Ben Mandelker, and joining me, as usual, is the one and only Ronnie Karam. What's up, Ronnie?
Hello.
How's it going today for you?
Good. What's going on over there?
Not much. Just happy to talk some Top Chef. We had a wonderful time in Vegas this past weekend, which means we only have 2 shows left on our Mounting Hysteria tour. We have Seattle and Los Angeles in June. So go to watchwhatcrappens.com to get tickets to those shows. We'd love to see you there. Also, patreon.com/watchwhatcrappens. Get access to all sorts of bonus episodes. For instance, in the past, we've done recaps of Traitors and The White Lotus. We've got Love Island coming up this summer. And currently, we actually have a small little 3-part series of us driving across Texas, which is what we did last week. And we made that into a 3-part bonus episode that also has a video component with Crappens On Demand. So go check that out. We had a lot of fun doing that. But for today, we have Top Chef. We're down to just 6 chefs. 6 chefs remain. And it's our final episode in Toronto. What did you think about the episode, Ronnie?
Good one.
Good. Yeah, it was fun. It would have been nice if they had gone around Canada more. I'm assuming the show had some budget cuts or whatever, because in the past, like if they would have an episode in Texas or California, they go on these little road trips, and I sort of thought they would get out of Toronto and maybe go to Montreal or some other places, but they just really stayed in Toronto the whole time. So,
I'm sorry. Is Alberta not exciting enough for you?
I am excited for the finale in Calgary, but
they
I just
visited the freeway underpass of that place. So
I just wanted a little visit to Montreal. Is that so much to ask? Just go to Montreal. It's right there. It's a quick plane ride away.
But we did get a super attitude-y Montreal French chef. I'm assuming she was Montreal because she was French. Is that bad? This lady was so funny on this episode. She's like, no, there need to be more.
Yeah.
It's missing something. It's there. It's food, but not good food.
They've really been on a great run with the guest judges. You know, you have this lady, you had Janet Zuccherini, you had Aaron Grinspan. Many people I would like to see more of.
Yeah. All right, well, let's get going. So they've just kicked Cesar away for making his porcupine, pineapple, bowling ball flavored, cracker or whatever he made last time. He makes some crazy shit. So he left, and Vinny and Lana come back, and so Bailey's like, did they bring up the quick fire challenge? Did they say anything about needing more lasagna from me? Because I'm going to find a way to make it again.
Yeah, and Vinny's sad because he was in the bottom again, and he's like, I don't like being on the bottom. He's like, the last few challenges, I'm trying to forge a new path and create my own identity, but this time I dodged a bullet or a laser. I'm figuring it out slowly but surely. One of the gifts of this season has been watching this show drain the soul and confidence out of Vinny. Because in the beginning, he started off so cocky. He was like, we're going to carve out apples. Everyone listen to me. We're going to carve out apples and serve things in apples. Trust me, I know how to do it from Nomad. And now he's just like, I can't even make a bread laser anymore.
Vinny is a shell of a human being at this point. Love to see it. So, they're just sitting around talking. Vinny looks crushed. Lana looks shell-shocked. Bailey looks like she can't wait to make some kind of a pasta. And Tristan's like, I can't make food without a narrative. Okay, Tristan, you know what? I like Tristan, but he's getting a little inside the actor studio for me. When you watch that show and the actors are just like unbearable because they think that they're so deep. Like everything. It's like when I played Pretty Woman, let me tell you how different. It's like, shut up. You played a hooker in an 80s movie or 90s movie, okay? It's not that deep. But they get so deep about it. Tristan's kind of doing that. He's like waxing poetic. A little too poetic for me. He's like, I just can't make food that doesn't have a narrative. Yes, you can. You can make food without a fucking narrative, bro. Just cook me some decent food. I don't want to eat your narrative.
Well, Massimo is like, well, I don't cook with the narrative. I cook with what's the most beautiful product in front of me, and how would I eat it, and how could I spend 45 minutes doing this, making this beautiful food, and not taking care of my children.
But I like that. That's an answer that I like. Massimo's like, it's fucking food. You take what's good and you make it. And Tristan's like, but we all do that. But there's more to it than that, you know? And then Tristan says that Massimo's his biggest motivator. And he goes, and this is going to come out real bad, but in a way, he represents everything I'm cooking against. Yeah, that does sound really fucking rude.
I mean, I'm okay with
Massimo,
that. Yeah, I'm okay with that just because, like, I too would cook against Massimo and everything he represents.
Why?
The hair, the voice. He's a very annoying person. I'm going to cook against annoying things.
What has he done? Why does everybody hate him so much?
He's loud. He's loud. He broke a cutting board with a knife. Okay. He's just like nonstop. I would be like, I don't know what Massimo even stands for, but I'm cooking against it at this point. I've had to deal with him for 6 weeks.
Massa, no.
Yeah. Precisely.
I mean, I don't know. I like Massimo. Okay, I think he does good stuff, and at least he's bringing some entertainment on this show. And it's not. I don't feel like he's like some hacky, terrible chef. He's pulled off some pretty good stuff. So I think it's kind of rude to be like, I'm cooking to be everything that he's not. Like, damn.
Yeah. Well, he does explain that it's just like Massimo has been very much in Tristan's face about like French cuisine and Italian cuisine. I guess what Massimo probably represents to him is like the old way of cooking of like that French and Italian cuisine are like the supreme cuisines, and that like everything sort of revolves around that. And this is the way you do things because it's the way it's always been done. And Tristan's like, I'm changing it up. He's going against tradition and loud voices.
Okay, so he's still trying to push this narrative thing. He's like, I believe you do have a narrative, Massimo, and that's what made you successful today. You know, it's got to come from somewhere. And Massimo's like, okay. And Lana goes, right, like there's a reason like why I'm doing what I'm doing, you know? I mean, I made a tasteless cornbread crumble because my mom likes tasteless cornbread crumbles. So, narrative.
Yeah.
That's a narrative right there.
So they pile into the quick fire kitchen, and where the pantry normally is, there's a sign that says Dépanneur, and it looks like basically a bodega, like a French Canadian bodega. And you know, Vinny's like, it looks like a bodega, but like I've never seen that before. But it's definitely missing the local bodega cat. So Kristen's like, everyone, when you all walked in, I was like, where's the rest? Well, chefs, you won't be the top 5 for very long, because guess what? We have a new winner for Last Chance Kitchen, brought to you by Glad Bags. Glad Bags, the place where Last Chance Kitchen meals go to when they have to go to the dump. Glad Bags. All right, everyone, welcome the winner of Last Chance Kitchen. Any guesses? Any guesses? Anyone?
Gail's like, does anybody have any guesses on who's going to be coming back? Hopefully it's a stylist for Gail.
I know who Gail wants to come back. A 2-for-1 BOGO at Dress Barn. So,
you know, it'd be great to see walking through that door a comb so Gail can run it through her hair. Just once.
So Tom's like, well, you know, Last Chance Kitchen, there was a lot of really great food, a couple of winning streaks. We did a crazy 3-part finale. God, it was so crazy. Real crazy. By the way, did we talk about this last week that apparently part 1 was that the chefs had to like oversee other chefs cooking their food? Did we talk about that? Of the 3-part finale?
You told me you watched it, but I didn't know what it was.
I didn't know that was the first challenge. The first challenge was that like Katiana and Cesar had to like talk to other chefs, had to guide them through cooking something for them, which I think is bullshit. Like, this is for getting back into the show, and you're gonna have it like one of the challenges comes down to how well you can describe to another chef how to cook something. No, I say no. But in the end, Cesar walks in and everyone cheers like, oh my God, Cesar's back.
Yeah, and Gail's like, you literally missed nothing because you were just here last week. So Tom's like, absolutely nothing. Padma was pretty fucking rude, but I'm sure you didn't miss that. And so I was like, yeah, it was fun. I made some really crazy stuff. I made French toast, but instead of soaking it in eggs, I soaked it in Drano, but I masked that with sugar and a little essence from a sap tree. So that was good. And they're like, welcome back. You did it, Cesar.
Well, that was the last Chance Kitchen. So whoever gets eliminated from this point forward will be going home, and they will be exiting the competition with a BMW X3. BMW, the chosen vehicle for leaving a competition. Thank you. So one of you will be taking home the grand prize of $250,000, and the rest of you will be just thinking about all the mistakes you made in this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
But thank God for Saratoga Springs water, our official water of Top Chef. Because guess what? Saratoga Springs is going to pour out all over the roads until the roads are really full of Saratoga Springs. And then we have boats provided by Virgin Cruise Lines, which will take you on this new Saratoga Springs water river to Alberta, Calgary, Alberta. Anyone ever been? Anyone ever been via Saratoga Springs, motherfuckers?
Saratoga Springs water, the preferred water for making rivers for your Virgin Cruises to go over to another province in Canada. So Massimo is like, "Oh, Calgary, I fell in love with it." Kristen's like, "Well, before we head west, let's just take a small little detour, a little bit more to our east, specifically directly to our east, this dépanneur next to us."
Shing! Quickfire challenge. Please welcome your guest judge, comedian, and food show junkie, Punky Johnson. She's a junkie. It's Punky Johnson. Junkie Punky Johnson. It's like, can we work on those cue cards a little bit? Punky deserves better. Bam.
Punky's like, "I am so excited to be here now that I'm not on Saturday Night Live anymore. I thought I'd never get another gig, but I am here somehow as a guest judge on
Is that
Top
where
Chef."
she's from? SNL?
She was on SNL for a few seasons.
Well, let me tell you who I love. Punky Johnson. And I don't know her from anything but Top Chef. But I fucking loved her after this. I'm going to look her up. I loved her.
It was funny that they didn't even mention SNL. I'm like, it's part of NBCU. Is there like an acrimonious split or something where she just did not want that mentioned as part of her bio? They like went out of their way to like not mention SNL, it felt like.
I don't know, but I love her. And they brought her because Kristen's like, "Oh, I went through your Instagram." Well, that's nice, Kristen. Could you act like you know who this person is? She's like, "Well, I was just in my trailer deciding which leather halter to wear, and I went through your Instagram. That was pretty interesting. And you cook on there. You're no stranger to cooking. I saw it on your Instagram." And Punky's like, "Yeah, I do it in dressing rooms, and basically all I have access to is whatever I can plug in, an air fryer. So I use plastic forks, plastic spoons, no chopping board, and that's how I cook on set."
Wow, that's also how Gail does her hair. So Kristen's like, "Punky, I just have to say, I know you live in New York, and you did have a rough childhood as an orphan, but thankfully you were adopted by that millionaire." She's like, "That's a different Punky." "Oh, my apologies then." "Well, I guess you know a thing or two about a bodega then, since you were not adopted by a millionaire."
Yeah. No wonder you were limited to an air fryer. And Punky's like, "I love to cook. Cooking is so therapeutic. I wish cooking was therapeutic to me. I'm more into like eating. I mean, I like to cook, but it's not therapeutic. Eating is therapeutic. Cooking is like the road to therapy. I just cook so I can eat."
Cooking's like making the appointment, and then eating is like the actual therapy session.
Yeah. Therapy is definitely the food. So, east of here in Montreal, they have their own version of a bodega, and it's called this. And Gail's like, "Yeah, it's called a dépanneur or Deps. We call them Deps, okay?" Deps.
Yeah, they're called Deps, and they are the equivalent of a convenience store found all over Montreal. And Kristen is like, "Yep, so for your quickfire challenge, we've turned our Top Chef pantry into our very own dépanneur." So, and since it's Montreal, most of the items are labeled only in French. "Oh, so Gail, that means you have to use your French to find the toothpaste. As if that will ever happen."
And Bailey, no one knows French. They're all like, "This is hard." Bailey's like, "How do you say pasta in France?" Do they have any of that? And Cesar's like, "Yeah, I don't speak French, so no one knows it except Massimo, of course." He's like, "Merci, French. I love it. That's like my cooking."
"Okay, you'll have to make a dish with the things that you can only find in the Top Chef Dep, but that's not all. In honor of our guest judge, you're going to have to only have access to what Punky has access to." "Oh, really? So you don't have access to what my dear friend Lena Waithe has access to, which is an Emmy, which is basically my Emmy, because we're friends."
"Hey, everybody. Lena Waithe does cooking in her dressing room, too, with her Emmy."
"You know what I have access to? Richard Mulligan. He's dead and up here in heaven with me.
Let me tell you who doesn't cook in her dressing room. Judy Garland.
That's because she has she has access to a full range of 5-star dead restaurants in heaven.
Every time Judy's hungry, she just clicks her heels 3 times and says, home, home, home. I say, get a new line, loser.
We get it. You're Judy Garland. You're in The Wizard of Oz. What else have you been in? God, are you really going to be like trumpeting that for the rest of eternity?
Yeah, Gail gets it. She just clicks her heels 3 times and says, I wish I were at Domino's. I wish I were at Domino's. I wish I were at Domino's.
Yeah. God, it's so fun when she finally does get to Domino's because she just points at every pizza in the store and goes, I had the craziest dream, and I ate you, and I ate you, and I ate you.
Gail's the first person that Domino's has ever seen eat a tornado. So they all have to do this without knowing French. And Kristen's like, and the only equipment that you're going to have access to is the electrical equipment that you can find in the pantry. Well, unfortunately, one of them's not a curling iron. Am I right, Gail?
Have you ever seen Gail try to make an omelet with a curling iron? Doesn't always work out well.
So they have 30 minutes, and it is time to go. The winner gets $10,000. And remember, the dish will be taken into consideration along with the elimination dishes. Really fucked over our last person who got kicked off, Cesar. So, Lana, You're lucky you're still here. Let's see what you can do today. Let's see.
So just as a reminder, your ability to cook with random convenience store foods with nothing but plastic knives will determine your future on this career-defining show of yours.
And Funky's like, your time starts now. Wow, that was a flashback to earlier in this episode when I was horribly killed when I tried to plug in an air fryer. Your time is over. I'm sorry. I'll get over that. I just need to relax and spend a little more time with Rock Hudson. I'll be back, everybody.
The gays love me. So,
I'm sorry. Did I just out somebody?
Oh, dear. So, Schwei, say something. So, Schwei says that he loves a bodega because there's bread, there's meat, there's condiment, there's chips. But enough about Gail's beauty regimen.
He's like, there's almost no vegetables whatsoever. Oh, my God, are we still on, Gail? What do you mean you don't eat vegetables? Shannon Bedore.
I'd like to interrupt this horrifying episode that does not even feature a single green leaf. Terrible.
The second show on Bravo this week to go against vegetables. I do not approve.
So Cesar is going to do a thing with cheddar popcorn. He's going to basically cook it down into like a grits kind of thing.
Here's my question. What do you do? You know, when you eat popcorn, the shells, the skins or whatever of the shells, how do you take care of that in grits?
I don't know. I don't know how this actually works.
I was very confused. But it sounds like a cool idea.
Yeah, it seemed cool. And then Lana's having some issues because like nothing is really speaking to her, but she finds a waffle maker and she's just going to lean into that. And I was like, okay, well, that seems like it could be promising, you know, have waffle, will travel, etc.
Yeah. The same way that Gail irons. So then we see everybody trying to cut food with these little plastic knives. And Schwei's like, I'm 2 slices away from just biting it. Well, that's 2 slices further away than Gail. Gail, get the ham out of your mouth.
Vinny says he's going to do a variation on a pâton croûte inspired by an uncrustable. Wow, that's a word that's never been used about Gail's hair.
Do they make those in underwear form for Gail? So Bailey's like, the hardest part of this is knowing that this is going to be aired on national television. And we see a
Tell me
correction on
about it.
screen.
I had to do 21 seasons with Gail next to my side on national television.
We see a correction on screen. Correction. Top Chef is aired in over 140 territories and heaven. So then 18 minutes we've got left, and Caesar's doing his popcorn grits. And he's like, when I first moved to Chicago, I had like $600. And so I survived off staff meal and popcorn. And you just cook it down with cream. So they get grit consistency. So I'm going to win this whole thing. Boiling popcorn. Boiling fucking popcorn.
Kind of feel like if you just if you sort of just like cook down anything with some cream and some butter and some cheese, it's probably gonna taste good no matter what. Like,
Yeah.
that should just be what you should go for. Massimo says he's gonna make a hybrid pigs in a blanket with grilled cheese and stuff, and he's gonna melt cheese curds in hot water and make a ball of mozzarella, and he's very proud of it. And then Tristan is trying to make a peanut soup with hot dogs. And he's like, I want something that can be very umami forward. So now I just have to build as much flavor as I can and then blend this later. So his narrative is umami forward, apparently, for this one.
Umami. And so then Tristan, oh no, I'm sorry. I thought that was Massimo. Sorry. So Cesar is like, melting cream and bacon into I love Cesar. I fucking love him. And then Tristan can't use a blender, so he's like bartend straining his stuff into a bowl. And he's like, this is my hot garbage plate of peanut soup. Thank you.
His narrative has a twist he was not expecting, which is that no access to a blender, which means that his soup is just gonna be a thin, chunky mess of bodega items. So the
Time's
judges
up.
come
Utensils down.
Yeah, time's up. Andy Cohen got in there for a second. Time's up, everyone. Okay, bye. So they start with Cesar, and so he serves his thing. And Tom's like, so what'd you use for your cooking implement there? And Cesar says, pressure cooker, just for some searing. I'm so sorry. Okay, that's all right. It's just a question.
You do not have to apologize for that. It's not like you used a mixologist. So that was good. And he made cheddar popcorn grits, finished with a little bit of goat cheese and an apple bacon celery leaf condiment on top, which they all had to use because that was all they had was celery. So they all put celery leaf on top of their thing to garnish it. It was just funny. So Punky wouldn't have known that was popcorn. So good job. Tristan did a bacon roasted hot dog and yucca main broth with celery and kraut and a little bit of croissant.
Sure. Sounds like it all goes together very well. Gail's like, did it turn out how you expected it to?
Does
Okay,
anyone's son? Does anyone's son? No. No.
The answer is yes, it did. Oh, I thought you were asking about my new friendship with Rock Hudson. He loves me.
So Tristan's like, no, I needed a blender, but whatever. So now Lana comes up, and Kristen thinks her dish is very cute. It's a savory ham and cheese waffle harissa syrup and a little bit of celery salad on top. So that celery isn't everything. And harissa,
But
ham and cheese waffle harissa with harissa syrup. Okay.
But I feel like I didn't see any syrup. It just looked like a waffle. It just looked like a generic waffle. And in fact, it seems like that's how it ate, because everyone was like, Tom's like, so where's the ham and cheese? Okay, that's just my slang that I use for my son for when I want to say, where's the career trajectory? You're just a mixologist. I say, where's the ham and cheese? You know?
And Lana's like, it's in there. You just can't see it. Yeah, it's the same place that Gail keeps her ham and cheese, in her purse.
Hidden away, but it's there. Trust us.
And Tom's like, oh, okay, if you say so. Okay. I love that Tom gets so hateful over such little things. He's like, okay, I'm just going to accuse you of being a liar on national television. Ham and cheese lie. That was a good ham and cheese lie, loser. Massimo, what did you make?
I made a hybrid of mozzarella and carrozza and a sausage brioche, and the sauce is everything that goes on top of an all-dressed hot dog. Oh, so you're calling Gail that too? No? Oh.
That's what we call Gail when she's doing a fashion show, trying to figure out what to wear tonight.
That's what we call Gail when she goes to the Emmys. All-dressed hot dog. Coming up.
And Punky's like, this is just a weenie and bread, but it tastes exquisite. And Shuai, now's your turn. Shuai's like, it's kind of a croque monsieur. There's two different types of ham, some cheese curds, Parmesan, fromage, which guys, I don't even know what fromage is. Okay.
Come on, dude.
Come on, man. This show is like so up its own ass and being highfalutin. I can't even believe they didn't edit that out.
I know. And Gail
No
goes,
one knows any words in French out of all of these trained chefs. This is embarrassing.
Gail goes, that's just cheese. Oh, isn't that also the name of your shampoo? That's just cheese for women.
If it's just cheese, then why do you keep selecting it at the beauty shop?
So, Vinny,
So Punky's like, this is a good hangover meal. And now it's Vinny.
Vinny's like, I made a pate en croûte inspired by an Uncrustable. God, the more you say it, the more I just had to explain what Joan of Arc what an Uncrustable is, and she says, "Oh, you mean like Gail's culottes?" I was like, "Good, Joan of Arc." She goes, "I know. I thought had a vision of it back in 1185, and I've been waiting for practically 1,000 years to make that joke."
I've been burning to make that joke. So Gail's like, what's the meat in here? I don't know why that made me laugh. He's like, there's hamon, okay, which is ham, for anybody that doesn't know. And there's some foie pate. And Gail's like, oh, foie pate. That's what it is. That's what it is, foie pate. It's not body wash, Gail. You're not at home.
Okay, Bailey, what about you? So Bailey comes up with more celery garnish. She's like, I made a raisin prune mostarda and a little toasty with a foie plate and pate and a little bit of apple and some crushed candied peanuts and the old celery leaf on top. And Kristen's like, was it the only fresh leaf or garnishing back there? What is it? The Saratoga Springs water of garnishes just everywhere and just wonderful to have at all times and making your life easy when you're trying to drive from Toronto to Alberta. Am I right, everyone? High five? No?
Well, everybody did a decent job, but we've got a few favorites, Punky. And Punky loved Massimo's. She's like, I love that you made a bougie name for a pig in a blanket. And it was delicious. I love the fact that you used mustard. Wow, I could eat that mustard again. God, I love mustard. All right, give him the win because I love mustard.
The fact that you made a hot dog and you used mustard, I mean, you're really you're shifting the paradigm. That's what I'm saying right now. Mustard with a hot dog.
And Cesar, you the creativity of taking popcorn, turning it into grits. I mean, wow, you need to be committed on that. You need to be committed to do that. That was a strong move.
And it had all these layers and textures. I'm just going to pause for Ghost Padma because I know she's about to roast me once again.
But that's enough about Gail's boxers.
There it is. Well, you worked in your apples. And they were crunchy and fresh. I'll just wait again. Crunchy and fresh. Sort of like, let's see. Joan of Arc, you have anything to say about this? Sort of like her breath when she's just finished a Charleston chew. I'll accept that. You're new at this. It's okay.
Sorry, Padma made me do that. What are you, Joan of Arc?
Rock, will you get in here and tell Joan of Arc how stupid she is?
Rock, get your hand off of James Dean's ass and get over here and take care of Joan.
Yes, I get it, Rock. Joan of Arc, icon. I get it. Okay, you can stop saying it. What do you mean she's your mother? Oh, she is mother. Fine.
Well, I'll tell you one of my favorite dishes, schwai. You made a solid croque monsieur. Okay, it was cheesy, it was savory, it was salty, it was cheesy, it was monsieury. Very, very monsieury. I loved it.
Kind of like the seat at the movie theater after Gal stands up. So Kristen is like, Punky, who had our favorite dish of the day? And Punky's like, well, basically it's Cesar. Cesar wins. And congratulations, you just won $10,000 courtesy of Wells Fargo Active Cash Credit Card, brought to you by Saratoga Springs and our good friends at Chipotle. Chipotle, the meal that will most make you cry. Anyway, nice welcome back gift, isn't it? He's like, yeah, it's great. So
I can't wait to turn all that cash into a custard. Like, okay, or you could spend it. So Cesar's like, yeah, I just got back from Last Chance Kitchen. I feel like the little cucaracha, you just can't get rid of me. I'm just going to keep coming back.
All right, well, congratulations, Cesar. It's not like you were gone for that long, so stop calling yourself some sort of like invincible entity because you were gone for all of 3 hours. Anyway, the rest of you all had our least favorite dishes of the day. They sucked, they were terrible, and none of us liked them. Punky, which one did you like the least?
Chef Bailey, I like how it was toasted, but it scraped the top of my mouth. It really hurt. Thanks a lot for killing the top of my mouth. She's like, oh, okay. And I would also like to say the texture of that foie was very dense and felt weighted. Okay. Wow. Now we know how airlifts feel in the ski resort when Gail's family comes to visit.
Vinny, I think the biggest thing for me is that what threw it off was just way over it was the texture of the goat cheese and the foie. Together, they just didn't work flavor-wise. Vinny's like, yeah, I'll just put grape jelly in next time. I'm sorry. Yeah, whatever they... I kind of feel like I had a really good Uncrustable at Nomad once, and you should have done that. Damn it. Damn it.
You know what this really could have used? I wish you had thought of hollandaise, because that really would have gone over well. He's like, oh. Okay, so your dish tasted like shit, but you know what's delicious? Watching you crumble visibly on national television. I'm enjoying it. It's good. It's good.
Lana, I liked your sauce. I thought it was a good play on maple syrup. But the waffle, just a dry waffle. Just a dry waffle. Just the driest waffle I ever had. It was so dry, not even soaking it in one of my son's shitty concoctions could moisten it up. It was just so dry.
And Kristen's like, oh, God, I was missing cheese. All I got were little pieces of ham. And Tristan, I think if you had a blender, it would have eaten a little bit more differently. Yeah, that's what we said about you, too. Blenders don't help.
Punky says, were you saying you wanted to put Gail in a blender? No. I just want to put something in a blender to shut her up sometimes. Bless her
I
heart.
just want her to eat differently.
So Punky is like, I just wish there was something to bring that bowl fully to life. And Tristan was just saying how he's really frustrated because, it just doesn't represent him and he's just scared. So Punky is like, well, everyone, sorry for ruining the show. Sorry that it was my challenge that brought all these wonderful chefs down. And I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Sorry no one knows what fromage is, but fuck, bye. So Tom's like, okay, well, you'll get better food tomorrow, I promise. I don't think we've ever had to say that to a guest chef before, but there it was.
Well, you've now all dipped your toes into a depth, so we're going to take things to a new height, Montreal style. Like, oh God, are we climbing a building in Montreal? No. To help with this next elimination challenge, I've invited a couple of friends, and I love when they do this. They're like, here come 3 highly acclaimed chefs that we're also going to do the work of a PA because we have budget cuts. So here, please roll in a cart full of vegetables, you 3 Michelin star chefs.
2 people who look extremely pissed off the whole time, and another really nice guy. I'm not really sure which is which, but I think Fred was the nice one. And the rest of them are shitheads. So let's go to it. Thanks for rolling out the vegetables, everybody. Okay, stare at all these vegetables. Okay, all you can use is garbage for this challenge. Enjoy.
This was the challenge where I think they ran out of ideas. They're like, you're going to cook with vegetables. So we have Antonio Park, Fred, Maureen, and then the lady who we both fell in love with, Fizun or Fizun. And she's the one who's like, why am I here? I flew all the way out of Montreal for this. They don't even play Sarah McLachlan in this province. Was stupid.
Sarah McLachlan. I love that you made her a Sarah McLachlan fan.
It's either that or Celine. And then after that, I was out.
Okay, Antonio Park is the sweet one. Okay, the really moody one is Fred Moline and Fisoun Erkan.
Yes, oui, bonjour. So, Montreal has one of the largest urban agricultural programs in the world. We're talking about something called the Green Roof Revolution. And basically, Montreal is like killing it because they've got lots of rooftop gardens everywhere. And Fred's restaurant has a really big one. And so he's like, yeah, we got kind of like the biggest greenhouse. So everyone thinks we're cool.
Well, Montreal has one of the largest urban agricultural programs in the world. Okay, we're talking about green roof revolutions. Okay, you can find rooftop gardens everywhere. What everybody wants, a carrot grown on a roof. They're delicious. And Kristen's like, okay, and standing in for Tom is Fred, because God forbid Tom has to do more than one thing a day. Okay. So, Fred, what say you?
Because Fred goes, as a proud Montrealer, we are so proud that we were able to break that glass ceiling. Get it? Because it's a greenhouse, glass ceiling. They're like, oh God.
But Fred has this look on his face. Like he has a miserable look on his face, but he keeps making jokes. He's my kind of guy. I like him. He's really actually very funny and he seems like kind of lighthearted, but he just gives everyone like this look the whole time. He's like, ugh, that joke. And they're like, what? Oh, ha, ha, ha.
Well, it's clear to us that this UNESCO City of Design, oh really, UNESCO City of Design, you know what they call Gail? A UNESCO City of Disdain. Mainly for me.
And Kristen's like, we love sustainable things, sustainable only. So for your elimination challenge, we want your dishes designed sustainably grown, okay? From rooftops only. So to practice sustainability, you'll only be utilizing ingredients and products that you can find left over in the Top Chef pantry, plus this entire table of crap that we're going to be using and then wasting tomorrow. Okay.
If your food does not taste like bird shit, then will be eliminated on the spot. It has to taste like a rooftop.
So a little bit of tar. We just need a little bit of tar taste, okay? And we want your dish to transport us into 4 seasons. It has to be winter, spring, summer, or Canada's very colorful fall season. So do you understand? Sustainability, pigeon poop, and seasons.
And the reason why we're doing this seasonal thing is because Justine, our new producer, has been trying to shoehorn this seasonal challenge in all season long, and we've said no to her every time. So finally we said, you know what, we can just tack it on to the stupid rooftop challenge we got going on, because cooking with vegetables is just a little bit too thin. So you're cooking with sustainability, but also have to match a season. Okay, good luck, everyone. Congrats,
And
Janice.
Fred's giving him a dirty look, and he's like, the best season in Montreal is the one where you go to Florida. Ha! And they're like, oh God, I thought he was going to yell at us again.
I thought he was gonna say something like it's the season when all the English-speaking people leave town and we only speak French. But he was really he's making a real joke. So then Christian's like, okay, Cesar, as the winner of Last Chance Kitchen, you get to select your season, and then that season becomes off the table for everyone else. So what season is it gonna be? So he goes for summer. And it's like, oh, just like Gail's favorite season, because summer teeth go that way. Summer teeth go this way. Remember Office Place, everyone? So funny.
So everyone else has to draw knives, and Vinny gets spring, Shui got winter, and Massimo got, what's left, fall? So then, no, I guess Massimo got winter, and Shui must have gotten fall. I don't know. I wrote it down wrong. So Massimo is like, oh, winter's depressing, but some of the most exciting food happens in the winter because that's when depressing time happens. Am I right? You're depressed. You're sitting alone at home. You're like, hey, what can I bread and cook in 45 minutes?
It's snowy, it's cold, it's icy, and you say, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make a soup. Oh, my God. You get that jolt of soup. So Kristen says, tomorrow you'll have 2 hours to cook before you serve in the Top Chef kitchen. Good luck. And we will see you tomorrow. So Vinny is really nervous because he did badly on the quickfire. And he's like, I need a reset, if you will. So what I'm going to do, hollandaise and nomad recipes. Consider this boy a reset.
So they go back to the apartment, and Vinny's talking about how he needs this creative reset. And we see him making a peanut butter sandwich. And then he uses the lid of the peanut butter to cut it into a perfect circle to be fancy.
He's like, I can do a Crustable. I can.
I've done it.
I've reset myself. So Lana is saying that she wants, Lana and Bailey are having a conversation where they just want to see each other go as far as possible, again to the final, ladies in the finale and everything. And Shui has found a card from his wife that was in his bag. And he's like, I find hidden a note in my baggage, a note from my wife. I'm like, his wife was like, it wasn't hidden. It was, I tucked it away with your clean underwear because I knew that you would find that right away. So the fact
his wife is testing him. I knew you were not going to change your boxers. I fucking knew it.
It's like, but these are my lucky boxers.
So he talks about how they opened this food truck called Short Grain Food Truck back in 2015. And they were so nervous and they used all their savings. It was a huge leap of faith, but they did it. And so he starts reading this card and we see the card and it is both sides of the card filled with tiny writing. And Schwei just sits there and he's like, "Dear Schwei, I have put this underneath your boxers just because I support you changing your underwear." I felt so bad for the cameraman who had to sit there for the 30 minutes it took him to read this card because he just read that whole card. They just kept cutting. And I was like, oh no, poor PA.
So he says this whole thing about like, I've been in my head about letting my family down. And this letter is really motivating me to take my head out of my ass and focus and just do the things that you love. Just cook and just feed the people. Da, da, da. And I think this is all nice, but I kind of feel like all the chefs say this every single week. And then like the week where they actually do well, it's like, aha, see, I told you I'm cooking for myself. But every other time it's like, well, I thought I was cooking for myself, but apparently I still suck, which is kind of like
well, also with Schwei, because every dish, it seems like at least recently, every dish has had like a grandmother component or a mother component, or that I'm doing this for my family because this is how they raised me, or I'm doing this because of all the hardships they went through. And now he's like, now I really need to do what's important. I'm like, bro, don't throw your grandma and your mom under the bus.
I'm not cooking for that bitch, my grandmother, anymore.
I've decided to get rid of the poor people. I'm only cooking for rich, wealthy people I'm inspired by. I don't know. It just sounded weird because I was like, everything has been so meaningful. And now you're like, nothing has meant anything until today.
Yeah, I don't even know what it means to be like, I'm finally going to cook for myself. Like, I don't know what that line would be because I feel like if I were on Top Chef, I think everything I cook, I would feel like, this is what I want to make. But maybe not. I don't know. So then Lana, she's talking about how she loves fall. I love fall. And then Vinny is saying,
it's like, it's a great season for fashion.
And as we know, Top Chef is the show on Bravo that features the best fashion. And then Vinny is saying, spring ingredients are very flavor intensive. A lot of peas, favas that need shucking, things like that, and dried morels. And I want to do a spring item that maybe make a broth with all that, or make a broth that just features none of that. I'll do that last month.
Yeah. So Schwei is doing a hot pot, and he's doing it because he was motivated by his wife. And so now he has a clear idea for a dish. He's going to call it Dirty Boxer Broth and Dirty Boxer Hot Pot. He wants to do kabocha squash, sweet potato, celery root. He's going to make an egg tofu, and then he's going to make a flavorful mushroom broth.
Yeah. Massimo says he's going to do a Quebec classic that you eat in the winter. He's going to make a farce with the thighs. They all are making farce, by the way. I forget what farce is. They explain it every year, and every year I always forget. But he's making a farce, and it's going to go between the chicken and its skin. It's a sustainability challenge. So we're going to put a farce between the chicken and the thighs. Wow, a farce. Is that like Gail's wardrobe? High five, Joan.
A farce in culinary context refers to a stuffing, a mixture of food like bread, onions, and herbs, used to fill other food, such as chicken or vegetables, before cooking. It's essentially the same as stuffing in English, or as Padma refers to Gail eating.
Or, as I like to call it, Gail having a longer tenure on this stupid show than I did. A farce.
And can I tell you? The French word farce can be translated to the verb stuff. There you
go. So he's basically he's doing chicken with stuffing in between the chicken and the skin. Isn't that basically
what that's where you make
Tristan
the mixture and you put it between the chicken. Yeah. Isn't that basically what?
Didn't Tristan do that last week with his virus of...
Yes.
His virus in the chicken wing, he stuffed
the swab virus or whatever he made. Yeah, it was weird. Yeah, so it's gonna be poetic. And Tristan's like, listen, Carfax cabbage is the best kind of cabbage because it has a narrative. You're not just buying a car, you're buying cabbage.
It's the only cabbage that you can get while also purchasing a Subaru, a used Subaru. Carfax.
Caraflex cabbage. And it's special because it's got sweetness, okay? And it's got a fantastic texture, and it always keeps its shape. I'll just stay silent on this one.
I also want to add a touch of umami and a little bit of substance into the potato, so I'm going to mix that with flaked fish and a touch of butter. Flaked fish, also known as Gail's deodorant. I'll go with that.
Wow, that's interesting because Gail's shoulders are covered in flaked scalp. So this should be an interesting dish. So Vinny's like, oh, for my 20th birthday, I traveled to China and it was so eye-opening. Plus, I got to carry a panda. I wasn't really sure where this story was going, but
I know.
It's Vinny.
I was like,
so.
I was like, Vinny, you're in trouble because this, I feel like this is an underrated pitfall, which is we talk about obviously the sous vide machine is always dangerous, but when people talk about that they did one thing 20 years ago and they want to do a dish in homage of it, that means that you used to cook this one thing for a small amount of time many years ago, which means you're not good at it anymore. And like this is what led to Katiana's downfall. This leads ultimately to Vinny's and other people. Like, okay, congratulations, you went to China once. It doesn't mean that you were all of a sudden going to be like a master at doing a traditional Chinese dish or your version of it. Like this is no. Like I applaud you stepping away from the hollandaise and from Nomad, but like, Vinny, how do you pivot from making hollandaise 25 times this season to suddenly deciding you're going to make some sort of Chinese dish? That just makes no sense whatsoever.
Well, time will tell. That's for sure. Time will tell. Okay, so Lana is, she's like, I've done foods from all over the diaspora, but I'm quarter German, so I'm going to do squash spätzle as a shout out to my German heritage. A squash spätzle. What's that about? Is it? She actually does make it with dough, which I'm glad to see, because when I first heard it, it sounded like butternut squash pasta when people are like, oh my God, I made a pasta out of butternut squash. And I'm like, that's not pasta. Stop calling it pasta. So I was worried about her, but she actually did make a spätzle. I love spätzle, by the way.
You know, I haven't had too much spätzle in my life. I don't have a huge spätzle.
My best friend, Aileen, was married to a German dude years and years ago, like a million years ago. And he lived with me for a time in Queens when he first immigrated to America. He was my roommate. And he would walk around in his underwear, tighty-whities. He was like 6'4", muscular, had really long. I mean, this guy was fucking gorgeous. He would be like, hey, bro, want to smoke blunt? And then we would smoke blunts at like 9 a.m. and while he was in his underwear. And then he would make me spätzle. So that's how I learned how to make it. So... you know, it's a good memory for me. Anytime someone says spätzle, I'm like, boner.
Sounds like a very spätzle time in your life. So
it was. And then I was butternut squashed when they got divorced.
Lana's like, my narrative is Ronnie Karam's life. So Bailey is...
I made this with spätzle and marijuana and vodka at 9 a.m. in my 20s.
Bailey, meanwhile, is going to make a squash agrodolce and polenta, and she's also scared because she didn't do well on the quick fire. So Massimo has decided he is going to do like a salt crust on his chicken, and he's like, I'm going to do something very, very dangerous, which I said I was never going to do on Top Chef, which was to speak at a normal room temperature voice. And by room temperature, I mean indoor voice. Room temperature voice is chef for normal speaking voice.
So he's like, I could embarrass myself in front of a bunch of chefs, so I'm going to wear extra gel in my hair today. So then Vicky is shucking peas, and he's like, obviously it's labor intensive, but I think it adds to the texture of the dish. Girl, you're just giving him peas. Don't put this much effort into peas.
Yeah, get some frozen peas. You really could you could do frozen peas in this situation. I think you could. So Shuai is making baked potatoes, and he's like, this just brings up so many memories of winter in Beijing with my grandma, my grandpa, who practically fucked me over in this competition.
I was like,
myself
wow,
now.
Shuai, you're making something that reminds you of your mom and your grandma? That is fucking crazy. I can't believe everything he makes. This guy is like, I do it because my mom and my grandma like it. Everything. Mama would like it. Grandma would like it. Okay, we get it. Jesus Christ. Get your own identity already.
So Kristen walks in. She goes, well, it smells like all the seasons in here. Which, if it smells like all the seasons, then it just smells like everything. I don't know. So then Kristen, they sit down, and everything is like, the table has like a winter decor to it. And Gail goes, wintry. Wow, Gail, your power of observation really defies expectations. I can't believe you saw that. That there's snow on the table, that it's wintry. Am I right, Joan?
Something no one ever says about Gail's breath.
Well, everyone, this is our last meal in Toronto, so cheers for being here. Toronto has treated us really well. So cheers to Toronto. Oh, and also, chefs, I forgot to mention that after this meal, we are forcing you all to climb up and down the CN Tower. Okay, enjoy.
For no reason. We'll give you $75. So then Vinny is grinding lamb and talking about how sustainability is about using every part of the product. So he's like, nothing's going to waste. So I'm going to use the lamb. I'm going to turn it into filling for a dumpling. Then I'm going to use the remaining bones and trimming for the consomme. I'm going to make little eyes, and I'm going to make them little Shirley Temples. But instead of cherries, they're going to be little lamb eyes in there. It's like, okay, calm down. Calm down.
Kristen is probably very excited. She's like, consomme. I love consomme. So Cesar.
It's like, everybody at these peas were shucked with lamb wiener. Enjoy it.
Cesar is going to do, he's filling up, he's doing sort of a very summery thing with like corn and tomatoes. So he decides to fill his tomatoes up with pistachio cream, and he wants to give it a kiss of smoke, like a summer grill situation. And nothing says a kiss of smoke like pistachio cream, I suppose. So then Massimo, he's nervous about his salt crust because he's never done this before. And how is it going to turn out? He's going to take off the salt crust and we're going to go to commercial because it's a total disaster. Everything is raw. Just kidding. It's fine. Everything's good.
So Kristen's like, wow, I don't know how people are going to even do winter because winter is so different in different places. And Gail's like, yeah, Canadians aren't scared of winter. I mean, there's so much about culture of eating in Canada that revolves around winter because it has to. So you might as well embrace it. You know, it's like Padma. She was just born cold. Wow, that was pretty mean, Gail. God, Gail, how dare you say something so mean about somebody? Yeah, Gail, that was really hurtful.
Rock, why are you laughing at that? You're not supposed to laugh at that. Gross.
So Shuai does a vegetarian dish, and he's like, that's really hard, you know? But instead of using bonito in my mushroom dashi, I'm using dulce seaweed. So, you know, that's slightly smoky. So I'm hoping it'll give it a bonito-y kind of vibe to the dashi. I hope my grandmother will like this. What will Mom think?
So Massimo is like shaking. He's like, I have uncontrollable shakes. I'm like, that's because you're yelling so much, okay? So they come out
It's
to the
like
table.
Gail on an escalator.
Remember the time she tied Twizzlers to her shoe thinking she was funny, but then wound up getting stuck in the escalator at the end? That was hilarious.
You want to see Gail shake? Drive her down a dirt road.
Tell her no convenience store for 45 miles. Now watch her shake. So then Massimo is like, so in Montreal, we don't hide from the cold. We celebrate it. We may eat a little heavier. We may eat a little bit more, drink a little bit more, make love a little bit more.
Winter is coming. Her name is Gail.
Fasoon is like, okay, yeah, no, we don't like the cold. We're still humans. It's
She's like,
terrible.
okay, this is good. Why not? She's like, I did something I grew up with. Got kicked out of class for being too loud. Okay. But then I did a technique I did for the first time. Poulet poché sauce crème. I fluffed the sauce with the sauce poulet and the chicken cooked in a salt crust.
Yeah. In honor of making love a little bit more, here's something in a salt crust. I was like, okay, sure. So Shuai's like, winter always reminds me of having hot pot with my family. So today I made a last bowl of hot pot with Montreal hard squash, which is what my wife sometimes calls my boxers, and a sweet potato dumpling made with collard green wrappers, fried enoki mushrooms, and the broth itself is a mushroom dashi, and then a celery root in the egg as well.
It's funny. We've always called the toilet, using the toilet after Gail's just left the restroom a hot pot. Interested to try your version.
Sorry, Jessica Tandy dared me to make that joke. I knew it wouldn't work.
So they start with Shuai, and Punky's like, I could drink this broth as my morning water. They all start laughing because, like, what the fuck? And
I like, was it Gail who was like, morning water? She's like, what is morning water? Even I don't have that. So Fred was like, it was magnificent. It is deep and rich. I'll remember forever the squash as much as I remember Orlando in winter away from Montreal. Ha 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 ha.
And Fasoon liked this one too. And Tom's like, yeah, I agree. You know, there's so much going on, so much work in this bowl. I mean, the celery root tofu. I mean, a beggar's purse, just beautifully done. You know, wow. Whoa, celery. It's a day of celery here at Top Chef. Oof, oof.
Remember when Gail wore a beggar's purse? The Golden Globes were like, Gail, that's not a real purse. It's a dumpling.
It's funny, Gail went to prom with a beggar's date.
I have to say, they're kind of killing it with the squash this season because it was Janet Zuccherini just a few weeks ago who's like, this is the best squash I've ever had in my life. And now you have this guy saying, I'll never forget this squash. Squash is like, they're killing it with the squash.
Yeah. So Tom's like, well, so much work. And Kristen says they're all reflective of winter. So great job. What did Massimo's dish taste like? And Antonio says, you know, it's really good. Very technical. Very technical. And Gail's like, cooking it in the salt retained so much moisture. And that farce with the chicken thigh was seasoned beautifully. Beautiful farce. Beautiful farce.
A
I'm gonna
farce
go
with
to
a chicken
language school
thigh.
and learn how to speak Farsi. That was so good. That was delicious.
Wow. A farce with a chicken thigh. That's kind of like Gail doing noises off with something from Purdue Farms. So Izun was like, it was nice. Technically, everything was cooked properly. While I enjoyed the taste, there's something missing to make it more comforting. I think it was the haunting idea of Massimo having sex in the winter more while I'm trying to eat his chicken.
I don't know what turned me off more, this dish or this story of Gail and her thighs.
Could be the potato. That's what the
Don't
people
blame
at the
Gail
post
for
office.
everything, Tom. She didn't even cook this dish, to be fair to my poor, dear, sweet Gail.
That's what Gail's neighbors say whenever they hear a doorbell. Could be the potato.
Gail said, the guy who worked the clear aisle at the airport said that when Gail approached.
Do you know they do digital ID on potatoes now? Gail has her own dedicated line. Potatoes only.
Clear plus potato.
Gail's line on they do Face ID for Gail, but her line is called unclear.
So Fasoon again is like, oh, nice. Technically, everything was cooked properly. While I enjoyed the taste, there's just something missing. God. So Lana is doing her spetzel, and she's like, I'm doing this spetzel smaller than normal. It's going to be like butterfly risotto because they're cuter. So, yeah, that's it. That's why.
Tiny Spetzel. So, hold me closer, Tiny Spetzel. German heritage. So Tristan is like, he's saying that he's going to add some trout roe because usually trout roe comes in existence in the springtime during a breeding and migration. So this is a story of a trout roe that was hatched in my food because of springtime. I'm like, okay. So Vinny is like, well, I'm getting down to the wire here. I just want to make sure the dumplings are cooked through. And it's a last minute ditch to get everything on the plate. And some of them are sticking. And so that's the end of the time that I have. And basically, he doesn't get to put a little radish garnish. He tries to do the Katiana thing, which is the little like radish stamp. But he's not Katiana, so he's not able to do it very well. And he only gets like 2 of them onto the plate.
But it is nice to see him rip off somebody besides Nomad. So that's good. I was proud of him.
It was nice to see him opening up his oeuvre of rip-offs.
Yeah. So now it's springtime, and Gail's like, oh, well, I'm missing a radish. Great. Great.
So that's the same thing every rabbit says every time you walk by.
Well, hey, maybe missing a radish, but at least you still got a rash.
Wow. You may be missing a radish, but your jorts seem to be an oversupply. Seem to really trying to say you went hog wild and Dress barn. I'm sorry, I'm just totally disoriented right here. Rock's not talking to me anymore.
Rock broke up with me, and I can't stop saying dress barn.
He said something like, wow, congratulations on looking like you're from 2019. I was like, what's that supposed to mean? And then he just rolled his eyes and walked away.
So Tristan's like, the only time I've ever had to play with spring stuff is when I was in Sweden and Scandinavia. So this is a Caraflex cabbage. It's never been spring anywhere that you live, Tristan. Tristan's this is the first episode that Tristan's ever gotten on my nerves, but I don't even know what the fuck he's talking about at this point.
Caraflex cabbage. Yeah, how does he not get to use, you don't get to use peas? Or does he run a barbecue place in Texas? Is that his thing?
Maybe I think so, but it's literally spring every year. So I don't get it. And he's like, but yeah, I did also spring new potatoes with smoked lake fish. You know, I didn't waste anything, guys. Even the bones from the fish went into making the butter sauce.
Which reminds me, if you wind up choking on what should be just a normal silky butter sauce, that's because there's fish bones in it.
I know. I was thinking, I don't think fish bones are the kind you want to use for that, right?
I have no idea.
Those
I
are
guess if
scary
you're just like
bones,
making a
fish bones.
stock,
Those will kill you.
I'm assuming he made like a stock, like some sort of like fish stock, and then made that for the butter sauce. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
And then Antonio is like, "Oh, the trout roe. You know the trout roe. You know that the trout roe is really salty, don't you? Ooh, who is this person? Finally, someone shading these chef testins. Do it again, Antonio. I love that. Did you mean to add such salty roe into your butter sauce?"
And he's like, yeah, I tried to not put too much. And Antonio's like, oh, okay, thank you. Fail. That was a fail on the row. Row fail.
Row your boat gently down the get out of this competition.
Vinny, what's your dish? And he made a lamb dumpling with a morel mushroom consomme, enoki mushrooms, just raw, and some shucked English peas. I could not believe. I love that he said shucked because it's so Vinny. Like, oh, wow, you made a shucked peas? Thank you. Thank you for not giving us peas in the pod, you fuck. But I really thought he was going to say hand shucked. I thought he was going to say I did some hand shucked English peas.
With a pea soil and a virus of pea. And then he's like, well, I'm originally from New York, so it's just more of a traditional spring. It's kind of like, I think as we all know globally, that New York has the most traditional spring. So moving out into Napa Valley, you see spring items as soon as February. So I want to try to do a little bit more of a bridge. So a rich consomme going into a lighter spring item. I'm like, what does this have to do with China? But what's all that whole story about holding the panda? And then you're going to serve peas and like a Napa Valley, New York hybrid Chinese. Like, what the hell is this dish?
I think that they're just making shit up. You know, on that show, Next Food Network Star, we used to watch that show a long time ago.
Of course. Susie
and the
Ferguson,
advice
icon.
to them was always like, your food has to have a story. You can't just come on and say, I'm making grilled cheese because I like grilled cheese. They'd always be like, it has to have a deep, meaningful story. And so part of the fun of it was watching these people try to come up with something TV ready. Like, oh, I'm doing this because my aunt who's dead now, then they like your grilled cheese better. If you have an aunt that's dead, they're like, yes, I loved your dead aunt grilled cheese. And that's what this show is turning into. Like, everything doesn't have to be a fucking TV answer. For fuck's sake, just make your boring ass dumpling, dude.
He should have just said, when I was 20, I went to China and I held a panda. That panda died the next day. But before it died, it said, I just want to have one more English pea. Because people don't realize that English peas are very popular with pandas in China. So this is a tribute to that panda. And this consomme represents the richness of my life after I met that panda.
There you go.
And then Kristen would have been like, you had me at consomme. You had me at consomme.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to do it well. But the same thing every week. Like my mom, my grandma, my mom. All of these people. Like, enough already. Enough. I'm sick of eating your fucking parents. All of you. I've had it.
I also, for some reason, it like annoyed me when he said that. Like, I grew up in New York, which has a traditional spring. I don't know why that annoyed me so much. Like, what the fuck is a traditional spring? Yeah.
It annoyed me too because he's trying to skirt the rules by doing a consomme. Everybody knows what fall, winter, spring, and summer means. It's not different. I mean, I get even Kristen was like, well, it's different in every place. No, we all know what fucking winter means. Nobody says, let's get some winter clothes ready. And they mean shorts because winter is shorter. And you know what I mean? Like, we all know what it means. Stop trying to skirt the rules. Vinny.
So Antonio's like, how did you compose the soup? And thanks ahead of time for not adding salty roe to it, Tristan. So then Vinny's like, well, basically any trim offcuts from the preparation of the farce went into the preparation of the consomme. So it's like this is like stuffing leftovers. Anything that was trimmed that didn't get added to the stuffing is in the consomme. But I'm like, if it didn't make it into the stuffing, is it really worth even putting into the consomme? Because the stuffing has everything, basically, right?
Yeah, he's grasping. So now they start judging the dish, and Tristan's is first, and the over-seasoned salt. The roe did too much here. Okay.
Too salty.
And Antonio's like, ow, it was doing this to me. Ow, ow, punch, punch, ow, punch, ow. I felt very, very punched by roe.
And Gail says, I find that the potato is under-seasoned. Gail, don't be mean to yourself. That's my job.
It's also overdressed, but that's another story. So Tom's like, yeah, I was going to say that. I was going to say that. And Gail's like, no salt. There is no salt on it. I mean, what the heck? And Punky's like, yeah, I was confused, but I used the sauce to my advantage and just dipped the potato in the sauce. And so then the under-seasoned potatoes became seasoned with the over-seasoned sauce, and it kind of worked out. That's Punky math.
They're like, wait, you ate the potatoes with the sauce that goes with the potatoes? That's just crazy.
That is insanity. Now, what about Vinny's dish? And Punky's just like, no, I mean, it was springy. It was a springy dish.
So Fizun's like, well, technically the dumpling was nicely made, but I was missing some components to make it complete. Cause yeah, I'm spring, but I don't get spring. And then Gail's like, well, there is an aggressiveness to the consomme. It had a funk to it. It's an aggressive consomme. Not happy with it.
Wow, isn't that the pot calling the kettle black? So Tom's like, well, I mean, you put scrap lamb into it. I mean, that's what you're getting. You're getting scrap lamb consomme. I mean, who wants that?
Little known fact, Gail used to be a race car driver, and that's what they'd call her. Scrap lamb.
Scrap lamb consomme. Gail's like, well, I felt like it overpowered the dish. That's how I feel. So to hell with scrap lamb. That's what I say. And Kristen asks, she's like, so did you have the radishes? And Tom's like, no, I didn't. And Gail's like, I had no radish.
Or fashion sense. But that's a whole other issue. That's nothing that Vinny could have given you in the first place. And so then Antonio, he's such a dick. He goes, oh, you guys didn't actually get it? Yes. I love Antonio bragging about how he has radish access.
So Bailey, who's now leaning a lot on these agrodolces. Last week, it wasn't technically that. What was it called last week?
I don't know.
Aguachile
Oh, no,
is what she did last time. But she's like, I want my agrodolce to be in your face. It's a flavor bomb. It could be polarizing, and the old Bailey would have cared, but this is new Bailey, and new Bailey is giving you overpowered agrodolce. That's that.
Polarizing. Sort of like the time that Gail tried to wear a ball gown into a Dave's Hot Chicken. People had a lot of opinions about that.
So Cesar is going for bright colors. The bright yellow in corn, the bright green in the dill, the pop of the red from the tomatoes. To me, that screams summer, and I'm not seasoning anything. I'm just going to put corn. I'm not going to sweeten it at all because it's corn. Who needs it? That was a fun challenge. I connect with it because it's summer. I have a rooftop, too.
Wow. He says his dish screams summer. I say it screams poor person without famous friends.
That might just be Gail. Gail, be quiet.
Who here has an Emmy? Anyone? Raise your hand. Not you, Caesar? Okay, great. Good luck cooking food for your non-Emmy winning friends.
So he presents his dish, and he's like, I grow all these things in my garden. Corn gazpacho, smoked cherry tomatoes, sperm sock. Sorry, that was the garden under my bed. Sorry.
How do you grow gazpacho? Well, the components for it. I'm still not following. Okay,
It's
thank you,
also
chef.
filled with pistachio cream and a lightly poached lobster. So they start with Caesar's dish, and Gail's like, I wish the corn was sweeter. I don't like, I don't taste the true delicious sweet corn flavor.
Yep, and For me, I just wish this gazpacho were a consomme. I mean, why do you even serve another soup if it's not a consomme? That's all I gotta ask. So then they do like the tomato, but Punky is like, but don't tell me that this is a lobster dish because I'm not getting any lobster. Okay. She's basically got like a tiny little piece, which is funny because we saw him taking the lobster out of the shells and like, there was tons of lobster, and yet I guess he only put a little bit in. So
Yeah.
they like it though. I mean, it's just so. Then now there's only
Antonio's
7
like, it's a
minutes
good dish, but there's no excitement. Where's the excitement? Bring me excitement.
Don't tell Gail that. She's going to put on her best paisley. So then now it's time for Lana and Bailey. So Lana is like, so these are our sauerkraut compressed apples. The juice from the sauerkraut is like a nice pop. And she's like very excited because she can show off her German side for once. And Bailey is saying how she is finding herself. Normally she's an overthinker, but now she's just more and more clear-headed, which is that she wants to destroy everyone's palates with an aggressive agrodolce. And now she's set that mission for herself, and she knows exactly how to do it.
Yeah. And Kristen's like, it's time for fall, my personal favorite season weather-wise. And Gail's like, sweater weather. Oh, Gail, please, you wear sweaters to the pool.
Sweater weather, which is, of course, we know the season when Gail eats nothing but sweaters.
Or any season, because that's when Gail's a sweater.
This is fall is the only season though where Gail's sweat smells like pumpkin spice.
See, Gail calls every season sweater weather, and we call every season with Gail paper towel weather, so you can wipe Gail's sweater off her. So Bailey's like, I saw beautiful squash and I was inspired by it. So this is agrodolce. There's honey nut, curry squash, kabocha squash, acorn, Caribbean chili, or Calabrian chili rather, crispy polenta, smoked labneh, and New Bailey. This is made with New Bailey. New Bailey.
Fazoon takes a bite. She's like, ooh la, ooh la la.
Yeah.
Mon Dieu.
She literally was like,
Take me back to Montreal. Ugh, I would rather listen to Alanis Morissette than eat this.
I don't like to criticize other countries, but Canada's Top Chef is actually better. You people suck. Go back to America.
Solana's like, I did a butternut squash spetzel, sauteed kielbasa, apples compressed with sauerkraut juice. My father's side is actually from Germany, and this is my ode to that. It's also kind of an ode to the pickle fridge I had growing up. God, I love that thing. Even with the sauce, I cooked it down a little bit and put out a little bit of beer, so it's kind of giving Oktoberfest with teeny tiny spetzel. Kind of basically like rice, spetzel rice.
So they judged the dishes, and Antonio's like, oh my God, Bailey's dish, my first bite. Holy cow, I got hit by a baseball bat.
And Antonio's like, I was like, what is this? All this saltiness, acidity on all these spices? It's so American. And Tom's like, yeah, well, the agrodolce is kind of aggressive, but I like it because, I think the squash is really rich. And then you have all that fat from the fried Brussels sprouts. And then you mix it with labneh. The labneh cools it down. It actually kind of all works. Unlike my son, who barely works, or I guess works in air quotes, as a mixologist, I suppose. Not really a living, but that's fine.
I love that Tom's like, oh, okay, we're nearing that part of the program where every dish sucks. So I have to say something's good because otherwise it looks like we've kept 4 really shitty chefs. So, okay, or 6, how many ever there are. And so Punky's like, actually, hers is my favorite. Acidity, spice. It was very good. It was very satisfying. And Kristen's like, listen, I hear you, but this feels like a condiment, not a dish. I was like, let Punky feel her way. How about that?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, then how about you just eat it as a condiment then?
Yeah. Don't tell Gail condiments aren't dishes. Otherwise, you'll have to take the spoon out of a mayonnaise jar.
Fred's like, it's very good, but I do agree there's something missing. A little bit like somebody with a tuxedo and shorts.
Oh, okay.
You
Now
just
I
got
feel like
threaded.
you're attacking America. So,
All right. So no need to make fun of what I wore to the Emmys. Hey, we usually reserve that for Gail.
And Gail actually said, yeah, we do that around here, a lot around here, actually, which I like. Because you know that's true.
Yeah. So then Kristen's like, okay, everyone, what did you think about Lana's spetzel dish? Not enough consomme, am I right, everyone? No? No? And Punky's like, well, Lana's dish definitely reflected fall to me. I mean, it could have been a smaller dish though. This is a lot of spetzel. And Fred's
It was a huge dish. And I think what they said about hers was true because they're like, yeah, you know, there's a lot of little things. Everything's really cut up into the same size, and it just looks kind of like a big plate of, I don't want to say slop because it was more colorful, but it was just a huge dish of who knows what. And it was too much. And also Spätzle should be the Spätzle. It should be the dish with the other stuff is kind of like in it, but not the whole dish. It looked like a corn dish.
Yeah, it kind of actually reminded me of the dish that we both got in Vegas, that gnocchi that we got that was so good. But I was like, I feel like I could just tell our gnocchi was better because like our gnocchi had like different sizes of things in it, you know, whereas this was just kind of like, it did sort of have a porridgey feel to it, right?
Yes,
it just looked like
that gnocchi was amazing. We ate at Scarpetta in Vegas, and that gnocchi was killer.
It was so good. I loved that meal. Everyone should go there.
Yeah, everything that happened in that meal was great.
I don't even remember that was really good.
That was a good one. Okay, so and in case anyone's like, how the fuck did you two pay to go to? We had a friend. We had a friend who was like, I'm king of the world. It was amazing. Yeah. What a way to go, too. Just be like, I'll have this, I'll have that, I'll have 10 desserts. It's amazing.
It was delish. Yeah. So so basically they are like, meh. Tom's like, flavor wise, it's fine. But there's like, there's a lot of little things happening, it's just, I think it's a very telling that this is a Spätzle dish and no one's mentioned Spätzle once. It's like, how do you have a Spätzle dish and the first thing you don't say is Spätzle? Like, we're not even talking about the Spätzle. It's all about the Spätzle, baby. Well, why are we not talking about the Spätzle? We're talking about the garnish, not the Spätzle.
Where's the Spätzle discussion? So Kristen's like, yeah, she says the thing about everything being diced too small and all the same words. And same sizes. And so they have to eliminate somebody. And Antonio's like, oh, shit. So let's go to the judges' table, guys. So the chefs are talking back in the stew room. And Massimo's happy with his dish, but now he's going to start questioning everything because they're waiting to be judged. And Schwei's like, I got a morning note from my wife, so I felt so motivated. I felt good cooking this food today because today wasn't a day that I say, I did this for my grandmother and my mother. Today is the day I say, I did this for my grandmother and my mother after a note from my wife.
And you know what, Schwei, we also definitely noticed, not only did you have a pep in your step, but when you did have that pep in your step, there wasn't that like crunchy sound that normally comes from around your underwear region. That was nice.
The letter's still going. She's just writing it through the whole season. So now they go to judges' table, and Massimo, Schwei, and Bailey, please stay here. You won! Congratulations! You're amazing people.
So Massimo is like, I had a good cook today. We're cooking for Montreal royalty. So if 10 years ago I would have been told that I'd be in the same room as everybody that was present today, I wouldn't believe you. And Gail's like, wow, that's great. Well, the chicken was exceptionally well cooked. He's like, thank you. And Antonio is saying, the balance of the vegetables, the balance of the chicken, the balance of the sauce, it's not because you're from Montreal, buddy. It's just that it was a really, really well executed dish. He's like,
and Schwei, how did the day go for you? He's like, good. Grandmother, mother, grandmother, mother and grandmother.
From home,
so it was good. Pretty
fresh
good.
underwear. Yeah. And Tom's like, yeah, I really got a sense of how you cook. It's nice. It just seemed like a much freer dish. It sort of felt like freer in all areas. Was your ball sack area a little freer today? So I don't know. I'm getting a different vibe. You looked at the dish and they just were like so many little pieces of it, and it looked like a package. It was good. Everything was beautiful, executed.
And Schwei's like, yeah, today was the first day I felt like myself making a dish. I was like, you made a turducken. I mean, come on. It's not your first day cooking like yourself. I don't believe it. So then he gets the comment that someone said that they'd remember that squash for the rest of their life. So put that in your pot and smoke it.
Thank you. Would you like to cry now? I feel like no one's really cried this season, and I'm really yearning. I gain power off of your tears, so if someone would like to cry, do you want to cry over that squash? No?
One time after Gail sat in a chair, the chair told me it will remember being squashed like that for the rest of its life. I love this
Billy?
episode.
Bailey, what about you? And she's like, I had fun today. Yet there was such a fascinating layer of flavoring in your dish, a real intensity in the squash. And then there were these beautiful smoky and cooling notes in the labneh. It was like the dish I haven't really ever seen before. No one saw it because you ate it so quickly, gal.
Yeah, the polenta was fantastic. Crispy, not greasy, agrodolce. Whoa, aggressive, but I liked it. It almost murdered the French lady who was here. She almost died, but I liked that too. That was fun. So it's the richness from the squash. Now, was it the best squash that Antonio ever tasted? Nope. But, you tried. And it was good. Tasty, interesting, beautifully executed. Nice. Good. Whoa.
We did get an email from Jen Zuccherini who says, wasn't my favorite squash either. So 0 for 2. 0 for 2 with the best squash ever. That's okay.
The winner today gave us a delicious dish, which really connected to the season, Punky Brewster. Congratulations. I love your work.
So Shuai is saying how, oh my God, it's his first solo win, and it's so personal to him. It's a very proud moment being Chinese. So Kristen's like, okay, well, you can step to the side. And Tristan, Lana, Vinny, and Caesar step forward. You four had just terrible dishes. We're embarrassed that you cooked such things for such wonderful chefs for us. I don't know why you're in this competition. And the one consomme that I did have from any of you sucked. All right, so tell us, how did today go for you?
And Tristan starts, and Kristen's like, so the potato and the fish ratio, was that equal? You're learning, kid. You're learning. Now just start it with, did you mean?
Did you mean to have such a terrible ratio of fish to potato?
And he's like, oh, I wanted more veg side and the fish to just barely be there. And Tom's like, well, I got news for you. The potatoes were completely bland. What are you, TV guide reviewing Gail's first season?
Tristan says, I tried everything together at the time, so the potatoes seem seasoned to me. And Antonio's like, well, I appreciate the sustainability, but I feel like when you do too much on one plate and there's 3 sauces with the other oil, it just gets very confusing. Yeah, sort of like Gail's choices at TJ Maxx. Sorry, I wanted to honor her other favorite stores.
Lana, when you cut all the garnishes in Kristen again, when you cut all the garnishes the same size as the Spätzle, was that for a reason? Or I'm just trying to.
You really need to work on your sentence construction, Kristen. Let me try. Did you mean to cut all your garnishes the same size as the Spätzle? There's only one right answer. No.
She's like, well, I guess I was hoping that you'd kind of get a bite of everything.
And Gail's like, well, because you cut everything to the same size, it was very hard to differentiate texturally between everything. Is this a squash? Is it a piece of corn? I don't know. Is it a piece of bread? I really don't know. I have no idea. Very difficult to differentiate foods cut the same size.
Gail looked more confused than the time I gave her a grab bag of Mounds and Almond Joys. She didn't know which one was which after a while. Put too many in the mouth, it just all tastes the same.
Well, I liked where you were going there. Okay. It felt very fall. Okay. But the Spätzle was a little on the soft side, and it just disappeared. Where's the Spätzle? Spätzle? Hello? 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 Whoa. It was like David Blaine there. 1 minute there's a Spätzle, next minute there's a top hat, and Spätzle's in there. Puts the top hat on, his head's not covered with it. Where'd the Spätzle go? Where is it?
Yeah. Sort of like Tarzan's career after this Mission Impossible movie runs its course. Am I right? Sorry. That's right. You cut it straight, Tarzan. I'm not afraid.
Hey, everybody, I have one question. Do you think that Tarzan knows Tom Cruise? Just kidding.
Hey, Tarzan, I'm hanging out with the real Tarzan up here in heaven, and he said, stop using my name. I have a legacy, you know.
So Gail's like, Vinny, what happened with the radish?
Some of us didn't get radish, and some of us are not happy about it. He's like, well, it was just a timing thing. I just boiled down, and I guess I missed a few of the plates. Wow. So you're saying that the little piece of radish that you stamped out that you could have done, I don't know, maybe 30 minutes prior, you just left out for the last second and couldn't get it on the plate? I want my radish, Vinny.
And Gail's like, so did you taste the consomme on its own, radish robber? And he's like, well, I tasted it afterwards and it was seasoned. I mean, it was definitely there. Look, when someone's asking you a question to inform you that you sucked, don't say you did it on purpose. He's like, yeah, it was delicious. You think it sucked? It was amazing. It's my best work.
Kristen's like, it was rich and heavily seasoned, and it overtook everything else. You took the thing I love most in life, a consommé, and you ruined it for me. You will pay. You will pay dearly.
Yeah, the lamb was too punched up. I mean, stop punching lamb. Can we just let lamb live their lives? Don't they have to go through enough? Why are we punching lambs? Stop punching lambs.
Scrap lamb. Don't forget that part. Scrap lamb.
Scrap lamb consomme.
Elvis called. He said, I would never make a sandwich out of that. So, so Tom's like,
I tried feeding Elvis a peanut butter, banana, and scrap lamb consomme sandwich, and he passed away again.
he went to other heaven. So then Tom was like, I mean, this is just a dish that anyone can make. Anyone can make scrap lamb. I mean, anyone could throw some peas and some scrap lamb into a bowl and you make it. I mean, I know you have a point of view. I'm just not seeing the season. I'm not seeing you. What's your season? What's your point of view? How much scrap lamb do you need to put into something? I just don't get it.
So now Cesar. I was excited to cook summer because it reminded me of my garden. I have a garden. And like the ingredients I put on the plate, that's something I grow. Yeah, so I know it goes well together. I grow it myself. Not in this garden, my other garden. So maybe it'll taste different. On my garden, it tastes good. I hope it tastes good on the same foreign garden.
Gail's like, let me try this question again just with you. I fucking hate Padma, but sometimes she has a good way of getting to the bottom of things. So, did you taste the corn itself?
He's like, yeah. And she goes, was it sweet? And he goes, yeah, a little. She's like, no one is understanding how sweet corn needs to be.
Do you understand? Do you understand the concept of sweet? What are things that taste sweet to you? Cardboard, rocks, paper,
fingernails. Come on.
He's like, yes, yes, and yes. Well, there's the problem.
You did not rob me of a radish today, so for that, I thank you.
Thank you for at least providing me as much corn as everyone else, unlike some people with their radishes.
Kristen is like, so the ratio of corn to the ground cherries to the yellow peppers, what was that? Were they all equal? Did you mean the inequality of the... Come on, Kristen.
Oh, my God. I feel like whatever character Edward James almost played in Stand and Deliver, I'm just teaching these people over and over again. So...
They also want to know why he filled the tomatoes. And he's like, oh, I thought a creaminess was good. Tom's like, well, I don't think you need that. Because, that nut, it just gets in the way of those fresh flavors. Oh, nuts. Am I right? God, nuts always ruining fresh flavors. All these summer ingredients didn't shine the way they normally should without nuts.
By the way, here's an idea. If you want to add creaminess to your corn salad, how about you add cheese? Why are you adding pistachio cream? Add a little feta. Add a little something, a bright cheese, a brandy, whatever. It's acting like they don't have access to cheese. You can do cheese. It's okay. It's not going to end the world. You know what?
Yeah.
So wrong you use cheese? Huh?
So now they have to go back to the stew room, and the judges have to decide. So they are taking into account the quick fires. So between coming out on the quick fire, he didn't have a bad dish, Cesar. So he's probably safe. So that means Tristan, Lana, or Vinny is out.
Yeah. So Gail's like, Lana's dish, I think it totally one note, okay? It was like Padma trying to sing a song, one note. Hey, that's not fair. They told me to only use one note in glitter. That's not nice, Gail. I don't like how she did that to me.
That's pretty strong for someone who literally ate one note when she swallowed a didgeridoo whole.
Wow. It's the only instrument that makes my noise. Wow. Wow.
Hey,
wow,
everybody,
wow, wow,
here's
wow.
the note that Gail ate.
So Kristen's like, I mean, all this other stuff was happening inside, and yet you couldn't taste any of it at all. And Gail's, that was my problem. Her dish felt lackluster, almost as lackluster as a dumpling without a radish. But I think of the three, Lana's made the most sense for her season. And so they're like, okay, Lana's safe. So now it's really coming down to Vinny and Tristan. At this point, there's no way they're gonna ever eliminate Tristan ahead of Vinny. It just won't happen.
Well, I don't know. I wasn't sure because they like to keep it spicy in here. I mean, we all thought Katiana was going to come back, and Cesar came back instead. So I was like, oh my God, maybe they're going to make it really crazy and get rid of Tristan, but they didn't. Tom's like, for me, Vinny's fish didn't feel like spring. I mean, what? And there was a couple of peas thrown in there. Hand-sucked peas. Okay, but still.
Yeah, I mean, the consomme should have just been lighter. It should have been a light consomme, but it was the lamb. It was really lammy, super lammy. Padma, you have a joke about that?
Consomme, lamb scrap consomme. That's all I have to say about that.
Lammy consomme. That's like that's like Rock Hudson and Joan Arc making soup together in heaven. Shut up, Lammy consomme. Oh God,
I
wasn't ready for that.
Just kill me again. So Kristen's like, Vinny's very good at taking the challenge and fitting a story into it, even though today we really didn't get any kind of story. But I did hear he talked about a panda one time. So.
Yeah, I mean, he likes, I know he got caught in the middle somewhere. He was like, okay, sustainability, so I'm going to add lamb bones as opposed to just think, did he even think that the consomme needed it? It's just an innocent consomme. A consomme does not need lamb bones. How could he do this to the consomme? So they're torn between this consomme and Tristan's underseasoned potato. And he really had a real bone to pick with that salty sauce, because I don't think anyone else really complained about the sauce but him. He's like, I mean, he used such a salty roe. Is anyone else picking up on this? It was such a salty sauce.
I mean, it was rich and heavy enough for Padma to marry it. All it needed was about 50 years more in age. So in this challenge, oh, go ahead.
It was rich and heavy enough for Gail to... Wait a second. Did you use that against me first?
Wow, Gail, that was really mean. I really don't like judges criticizing each other like that. Wow, Gail, really mean.
Horrible, Gail. Horrible thing to do.
Yeah, go too far, Gail. Too far, Gail. We don't stand for those kind of jokes on this show.
So let's talk about the quickfire. Okay, let's talk about that. Or as I call it, whatever they say to my son every time he tries to get a job. Quick fire. So Kristen's like, Vinny had a foie gras. He had a goat cheese uncrusted sandwich. I mean, what was that?
Why would you put foie gras and goat cheese together? That's ridiculous. That's worse than a scrap lamb in a soup.
Yeah, that was pretty weird. And Kristen brings up Tristan. She's like, yeah, Tristan made a hot dog soup with a croissant in it. So I don't know that that's much better.
Well, it's official, everyone. Our show has jumped the shark. These descriptions have
We're canceling our own show right now in the judging. So Kristen's like, I mean, they're all pretty much equal right now, which means they suck. So do we have the answer? Who do we hate the most? Okay. Who has run out of panda stories? Okay, let's bring it back in.
So the chefs, 3 of you have done some great work all season long. Unfortunately, you decided to stop cooking well when Punky showed up. That's not nice. But this is the point of the company. Yeah, go on.
Go ahead.
Me.
Sorry, I thought you were done there.
No, I know. I sort of sounded like I was finishing, and then I surprised. I kept on going. Kind of like Gail at a cafeteria.
Some chefs are good. Some chefs are bad, like you. Some chefs succeed. Some chefs fail, like you guys today. Some chefs are, yes, win. No, yes, happy. And some chefs are no, mad. Vinny, get out. Get out. Get out. Kristen, Padma.
Vinny, now that you're off the show, I hope you can do something with your winnings. Maybe take a trip to the Netherlands. That way you can have some Holland days. Some days in Holland.
And Vinny's like, well, at least I got to show people who I am, but I don't really think I got to show my full representation of food I can make. I'm like, yes, you did. Hollandaise, nomad. Go. Just go.
Brothers Pizza, Katiana's garnish. That's it. That was what you showed us.
Goodbye.
Well, Vinny, I thought he was gonna make it into the finals, but he just could not get it together. So yeah, now we're getting down to it. And Lana, Bailey, Tristan, Massimo, and Cesar. So we'll see what happens in Calgary. Until then, thanks everyone for being here, and we will catch you on the next episode. Bye, everyone.
Bye.